are live once again, everybody. Welcome back to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook, and tonight it is episode number 106. I cannot believe it. All right, I can't believe it. It's 106 episodes in. Man, last week had double the action, double the fun with good old Butsy on with the Waste Management Open special. We had Sam Hahn on, who's the CEO from Lab Golf, later in the week. And now this week, you got me. We had a bunch of guests all in a row, and I'm like, man, there's so much going on right now in the world of golf that we need to have a one-on-one moment to where we break it all down, go through it all, and really get to the bottom of all this stuff going on, because the Waste Management Phoenix Open, we're going to recap that tonight. Some people are calling it the Wasted Management Open, which for good reason, and we'll get into that. So you're going to hear the full scoop here because I was out there all week long, experienced all of it. Then we've got Tiger's return. So Tiger Woods is back at Riviera this week. We're going to be talking about that. We've also got the upcoming Genesis Invitational. We got to talk about that at Riv because Riviera is one of my favorite courses. We'll get into that. We've got the Swanee style segment because guess what, folks? Tiger Woods just launched a new clothing line. So we're going to be getting into there. And then Live Golf Las Vegas. We're going to recap that entire event, which, folks, that is one of my favorite portions of this episode. That's why we usually save it for last, is that Las Vegas recap. People absolutely love our Live Golf side of things, and I love it. So we're going to get into a full breakdown there as well. But before we get into this episode, I do want to thank our sponsors for this episode. So first of all, Swanee's Golf. And I got a cool little story that came up with Swanee. So I was going in, doing Instagram Live at the Waste Management Phoenix Open fan shop, and Swanee's had a great setup there. Absolutely fantastic. And the shirt that you see on me right now, this has beers. It's got, our beers are over here. You got glizzies over here. So those podcast listeners, you got little images all over the shirt of beers and hot dogs. And then it's got the Waste Management logo there with the 16th hole. I mean, this thing was hot and it sold out so fast. So I was there Wednesday. I was there on Thursday. And actually it was on Thursday when I was doing an Instagram Live coming from the Swanee's portion of the Waste Management Open fan shop. And sure enough, if one of our audience members didn't DM me and was like, I love that shirt, would you do me a favor and actually pick that up for me? I will Venmo you right now. And sure enough, I'm like, I'm a man of the people. The people's open. I absolutely love it. So I go, absolutely. I'm going to pick this up for you. So did a little segment in line, waited in there, and got that polo for him. And then I'm like, I liked it so much. I went right back over to the Swanee's guys, and I'm like, all right, I need one myself as well. And was actually out playing in a little skins action today, and everybody complimented the shirt. They're like, dude, that shirt is so dope. Swanee's, folks. So if you like the Swanee stuff, make sure to go to swanees.co. Use promo code PullHookGolf25. Get 25% off your entire order. What I love about Swanee's, too, is not only are they well-priced, great value, great quality and performance, but also they use recycled water or plastic bottles in their materials, which makes it even that much more awesome. So make sure to go to Swanee's and get yourself 25% off using promo code PullHookGolf25. All right, now for our other sponsor, which is Lab Golf Tonight. So we had Sam Hahn on last week sponsoring this episode as well. And I will tell you guys, the lie angle balance is no joke. I was talking with some pros out there at the Waste Management Open about it even further, and I was like, I've got mine on the way because guess what? I went through, and after talking with Sam, I was like, man, I need to go and get myself this putter. And originally I was going to get a Mez 1 because those that know me, I tend to miss every once in a while those 3-4 footers that I know everybody struggles with from time to time. And so after talking with Sam, though, he really convinced me to go with the DF3, their brand new putter that they've just come out with. So if everybody remembers the lab putter that first started it all, it was the DF 2.1, and that DF 2.1 it looked like the mothership. I mean, this thing was big, it was black, it looked like something out of Star Wars. And so that being said, they have gone ahead, trimmed that model down. They've gotten the same effect out of it. They removed the ping noise from it. So check this out. This is the DF3 model, and it's just clean looking. I don't have the other shot of it from the top side, but this is the bottom of it. And guess what? When you hit it so close on your lag putts, if it doesn't go in, that is, you also have the hole there to actually pick up your ball, so you don't have to bend over and do that. So I went through their fitting process online, and I mean, it is so simple. It took me about 5 minutes to get everything done. Came back, and the fitting was spot on. So I know that it works, and I was talking with Sam about it, and he was telling me that almost all of the pros, so about 90% of the PGA Tour pros, have actually gone through that remote fitting process and have got fit that way. So don't think you need to necessarily go into a custom fitter and get custom fit for it and everything. The remote fitting works awesome. And again, did that in about 5 minutes. So make sure to go to labgolf.com, change your putting today, drop more putts. And I'll be talking about it more too as I get using the DF3. I will certainly be talking to you about it here on this podcast as well in the future. But again, labgolf.com, and make sure that if you want to roll some more putts, get that DF3. That thing is money. And everything, what I love about it is the putter face stays square. So use your path, and you're going to make a lot of putts. All right, let's get into the episode now with the Waste Management Phoenix Open recap. And I know a lot of people on social media are calling this the Wasted Management Open, and they're not necessarily wrong. I mean, I'm going to tell you this. The weather really screwed up everything this year at the Waste Management Open. I've been going since I was 13 years old. And during college, I went every single year. And then I lived out here for a while in Arizona, and I stayed out here for quite some time. And then from there, now that I'm back, I've gone the past couple years. And I will just say this. I have never been to the Waste Management Open with weather poorer than what it was. It rained the majority of the week. It was cold. I mean, when I say cold, I don't know if any of you are on TikTok, but I will tell you this right now. There was a PSA that went out. So if you listen to the People's Open special with the Butsy, we talk about the fashionistas, right? And with the fashionistas, there are the scantily clad. Well, I will tell you that there was a PSA going around on TikTok that was pretty much verbatim to this. Don't wear what we normally wear out there at the Waste Management Open. It is so cold. I am telling you, I froze. Don't wear what you normally wear. And I'm just like, it was this young girl, clearly, like, you look at the TikTok and you're like, okay, this is, you're in that place of the scantily clad. So there was a PSA that went out about that. And then the biggest problem with the weather is that the actual dormant Bermuda hills that they have for fans to sit on and to stand, well, those turned into mud. And I know a lot of you have seen the aftermath of people sliding down the hills and everything. When I was out there on Wednesday, people were falling down the hills. Then throughout the week, the hills got muddier and muddier and muddier. And if you were not on a cart path by Saturday, then you essentially were walking through mud. I had my Jordans on, and it became impossible if you were going to get anywhere to actually not be stepping in a ton of mud. So it was not the best experience, especially on Saturday. Wednesday was a great experience. I didn't have a problem on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, I did not go because it rained pretty much all day. And then Friday was gorgeous. So Friday was actually the best day of all. in my opinion. But Sunday was beautiful as well, and then Saturday was just a complete debacle. So here's the scoop, folks. What ended up happening, and yes, it got out of control because they did the same thing last year as well. The entrance at the Waste Management Open needs to be fixed. This has been a problem now. Last year it was a problem. This year it's a problem. They got to figure out something to get people into the golf course in a better fashion than what it is. And this year, well, last year, I'll just say this. Nobody was expecting them to all of a sudden just open up the gates and just start letting people in because it became a public safety risk. Everybody was jammed in together, couldn't move, and that was at the gates for the ticket check-in, right? Well, last year they let everybody in. That was the first time that I have ever experienced them doing that. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy. This year, guess what? As they did it this year, people that were locals, we overheard multiple conversations as we're getting in as to calling up buddies and going, hey, man, get down here now. They're not checking tickets. So what did that lead to? That led to, apparently, I have heard the number as to 500,000, so 500,000 fans were on property at one point. That is why, and they actually closed the gates. However, the people revolted at the People's Open, and they just powered through, and then it became chaos. So they ended up cutting off alcohol sales at 2:00, which, I mean, there's one way to get drunk people out of a golf course. It's by not serving them any more alcohol. Only the private areas like the greenskeeper passes, as well as the 16th hole if you're up in a suite, those were the only ones that were still serving alcohol at that time. But they wanted the masses to start leaving there, and I get it. I mean, the players were frustrated, especially you got Billy Horschel, you got Zach Johnson, two guys. Now, Billy Horschel is he gets fired up, right? He is a Florida Gator, he's got that mentality for getting angry sometimes and chirping at some fans and everything. This is not the first time for him. So with Billy Horschel, I was not surprised that he gave some guys the business while they were out there. The one that was surprising was Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson was getting his chops busted up by a fan that was giving him shit about being a poor Ryder Cup captain, and was saying some stuff that he shouldn't have been saying. And Zach just finally lost. I think it was 3 holes that they were going through all of that, and Zach finally lost it on him and just had enough. And I'll say this, man. They played 54 holes between Saturday and Sunday. So because of the rain and because of the weather, everything got pushed back. So they played a shit ton of golf. And to deal with that crowd for as long as they did in shitty weather throughout the entire week, I get it. I get why they lost their shit. I would have probably lost my shit if I was having to listen to that the entire time as well, because you can only be so zen and in your head, and just not really worrying about what people are saying and having fun with it. The one person who actually did a really good job with it all was Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth was fantastic out there. There were multiple times that people were just screaming out at him, and there was one time on 18 to where he hit a shot and he looked up as if to get pissed off at somebody and just realized how many people were there on in whether it was the tents or down below, and he just kind of said, what the fuck? So he certainly was taken back by everything, but kind of in a chuckling kind of manner to where he's just like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy as to what he's experiencing. So this by far was the craziest year. It broke all the attendance records by far. I don't think they will officially come out and say that there was 500,000 fans on property on Saturday, but that is the word that I have heard from several people, including some within the Thunderbirds. So that whole thing is just a challenge. And then also, by the way, they cut off alcohol. One, because people ran through the gates. So it became a big-time public safety risk, didn't want to continue serving people. So that happened. And then sadly, a woman fell 20 feet out of the stands. I don't know which hole that actually took place on, but I read about that. I'm like, gosh, we were joking about the fact that how do people not like die out there at the Waste Management Open? Apparently, she's got serious injuries, but is going to recover, so that's good. But again, the mud was the story. It was like Woodstock from back in the day. People just in the mud, sliding down the hills. I mean, people still found a way to have an absolute blast. It was not my favorite year for the Waste Management Open. And here's the thing. I think it can be fixed. I think there's some ways that we can go about getting this tournament back to being a fun party atmosphere, being respectful for the players to a degree, because there's always going to be people yelling and everything. Like, that's still going to happen. But we need a better entrance into the tournament. We've got to figure out a way, maybe on both sides of the golf course. I don't know how that would play out, but it was a nightmare this year, even because the grass parking lots, a lot of them ended up being non-usable. So VIP parking passes, basically all parking passes were eliminated, and everybody had to go to general parking, and that took a long time to get just to the tournament gates. And then from there, it took, on Friday, it actually took me half an hour to get through, but they were still checking tickets. On Saturday, it took about 15 to 20 minutes, and granted, they were not checking tickets, so that's got to go to show you something there, but they've got to issue out less tickets, especially for Saturday. Saturday's a nightmare. A lot of people don't go because Saturday is just absolutely crazy anyways, so a lot of people know that, but if you want that party atmosphere, Saturday is it. I just wish it didn't take me 30 minutes to move from one section to another because of how packed it was. But again, a lot of that has to do with the weather itself. And for the action, the golf was actually really, really good. It's always good at the Waste Management because that golf course is phenomenal. They had it in great condition. Those greens were as pure as can be. And you got to give it up for Nick Taylor. It's funny. I had my buddy Blake gave me a call. He's been on an episode previously, and he was asking me, he's like, is Nick Taylor for real? And I think at the time that we were talking, we're like, he might have just had that great run last year. So, only time will tell. And we were talking about him heading into the Waste Management, and sure enough, goes out there and in the first round, a lot of people forget because the first round was just absolutely a mess in terms of weather, but he goes out there and shoots 60. Goes out there, shoots 60, had a chance to shoot 59. And these scores that we are seeing right now are just insane out on tour. The talent pool is so crazy good right now. And goes from a 60, follows that up with a tough 70, 68 in the third round. And again, these are all mixed throughout the days because of the weather. That, once again, is the theme from the week. But Nick Taylor goes out on Sunday, shoots a 65, birdies 3 out of the last 4 holes to force a playoff with Charlie Hoffman. Now, Charlie Hoffman was playing on the heartstrings of everybody because he, one, is sponsored by the Waste Management Open. There's obviously the other side to it, too, that the Live Golf fans, which, granted, I don't know why Live Golf fans shit on the PGA Tour because, and I get it, it's the whole back and forth. PGA Tour said all this stuff about Live, and now we got to defend it. I get the whole dynamic, right? But it's funny because he is also sponsored in apparel by Greg Norman's apparel company. And so you got the big shark logo on the back, and it was just very ironic. You had Live fans pulling for him. You had other people pulling for him because he's Waste Management. And then, you got the Southern Cal people who just absolutely love Charlie Hoffman. He's a great guy. Bobby Brown has talked about him on this podcast before, that he's just a really chill, good dude. And everybody was pulling for him. Heading into the playoff. And I thought he won it in regulation. And then you just see Nick Taylor doing what he did on the last 4 holes. You're like, dang. He is lighting it up, and I thought it was going to be tough in the playoff for Charlie to really come through. And sure enough, on the first playoff hole, both of them hit great shots, birdie the playoff hole, and then they have to go back and do it again. And you got Charlie. Charlie's in his back brace. Like, that was so much golf for a guy like Charlie Hoffman. I mean, that is tough at his age, to be able to perform at that level and play so much golf in a condensed period of time. I give him super props. I am super impressed by him. But then he got a bad break, hits it into the bunker on the left, off the tee, has to hit it up and over these, I don't even know what you would call it, because they're kind of these slots throughout with grass. And so he hits actually a really good shot, but he had to get it up and over, had to make sure he had enough club. So he ends up deep, misses the putt, obviously. And then from there, Nick Taylor had stuffed his from the fairway. And sure enough, played absolutely a beautiful putt and knocks that in to win once again. And he does it in dramatic fashion, just like he did up in Canada at the RBC. So kudos to Nick Taylor. He's the real deal, man. He's playing very, very well. He's cleaned up a lot of stuff in his game, and you got to love that. Now, Run PMC, we've got a little comment from you here. So how did SH look out there? Saw he was on the leaderboard early. So Bobby has not been on his bag this year, once again, due to some things going on there personally. So that being said, he's taken some time off. And one of the things that I will tell you is that SH looked phenomenal out there. I was very, very impressed with SH. We made some eye contact at times. I like to think that he still remembers me from the Shriners walking 18 holes of golf with him. But that being said, him and his new caddy looked pretty comfortable out there. I mean, filling in for Bobby. And that being said, SH, he gets into these patterns, I feel like. I feel like I've paid enough attention now to where it's like he gets into this pattern to where he makes a lot of pars. And he's just not dropping a ton of birdies on a consistent basis. And that's the one thing that I noticed with him. But I'll do a leaderboard rundown here in just a second. I also want to get to Charlie Hoffman with the fact that, granted, he loses the playoff and misses some bigger tournaments that he could have gotten in, because I don't believe he's exempt anymore. I was hearing while I was on site that he's not exempt anymore for the Masters and for some others. So this would have put him into those tournaments once again. But I'm just looking at my notes here. His last win was at the 2016 Valero, Texas Open. And so he's had a long stretch of not winning a golf tournament. And this actually got him into the Genesis Invitational this week. So he had a ski trip planned. And that is canceled. So he is no longer going skiing. He is now going to be playing in the Genesis Invitational, which, by the way, folks, is going to be a signature event, but we got more on that in a second. The big names. All right, let's go over some of the big names because, hang on, I got to take a little sip of Bushwood real quick. These one-man shows sometimes, I just get a little parched, a little winded. But the big names, so they showed up as well. And in a lot of ways, I'm not surprised that we're seeing some other names at the top of the leaderboard. Now, sure enough, I know what the live people are going to say, well, that's because we took all the big names. No, you didn't. But I will say this, the talent level has risen, and it's risen another notch, which is crazy to think about because PGA Tour pros are so good. But this is one of the things that I love about the PGA Tour is that you have these larger fields. People can play their way in through a Monday qualifier, and they can go out and compete. And you got guys that are 100-something on the PGA Tour, and they're coming out and they're able to go out there and perform and potentially shoot 4 great rounds of golf and win a PGA Tour event. So I love that. Now, that being said, Scotty Scheffler loves this place. The Waste Management Open You wouldn't think that Scotty Scheffler loves all the partying, all the people and everything, but he seems comfortable in that environment, in the crazy environment and everything. And he was on fire at the end of his third round, heading into his fourth round, and came out the gates firing as well. So Scotty Scheffler looked like he was going to take this thing. Then Charlie Hoffman kind of was right there with him and eagled a par 5, and so it was back and forth. And then Nick Taylor kind of comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden gets up there as well. But Scotty Scheffler, all right, I've said this on this podcast before. I'm not going to call him a choke artist. I did that for entertainment effect back when I said it last year. But this guy, there is nobody that strikes the ball better than he is. There's nobody strokes gained approach. Like, he is just stuffing golf shots. And his putting woes, at the beginning of the week, he was phenomenal. However, you get the pressure going. And I've said this before. I believe that his putting woes have nothing to do with the putter or a setup or a stroke. I believe it has everything to do with him mentally under pressure, being able to handle that. And I really do think that if Scotty Scheffler starts working with a mental coach, because it's not the yips that he has. It doesn't have the yips. He gets off aligned. And I don't know, like, looking at the stroke, it doesn't look any different under pressure versus not. He just misses pots. And so to me, that's a mental issue. I would love to see them add a mental coach in there. I don't know if they already have or not. I'm not super tight with that crew. I did throw out there, Teddy, let's go for a little three-peat. He loved it, gave me a nice little wink, saw the pull hook hat, gave me a thumbs up. So that being said, that's about all I talked to within their group, and with Teddy himself, Scotty's caddy. And I really think it's mental. I really think Scotty Scheffler needs a performance coach to come in, help him mentally with working and being able to perform under pressure. And once again, his golf swing still looks great under pressure a lot of times. I don't see a whole lot of difference there. It's more so just the putter. Once the putter starts to go, that's when you start to see everything else struggle, because that's when he starts putting more and more pressure on himself. I was talking about that with Lance Bennett, who we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, because there's some big news there as well. And then also who finished. So Scotty Scheffler finishes T3. I thought he should have won that tournament easily. By the way, he also, in the third round, putted a ball into a bunker. So there's that. Now, that was just a bad break. Ball just didn't stop. It wasn't that bad of a putt, but that being said, he putted it into a bunker. Now, T3 also, Sam Burns, as I just mentioned. Sam Burns, he's just a solid player. I mean, shoots 7 under, I believe, in the final round. Let's see. Yeah, shoots a 64 out there in the final round. You know who else loves this golf course? Sahith Theegala. So Sahith, he had a whole fan base out there with his face all over a bunch of shirts. His dad was out there, and that was great. We also got to see Minwoo Lee with his new sponsorship with Lululemon. They just trucked out a ton of people. That I think I was talking to one of the guys. He's like, yeah, we're all through Lululemon. They had the Minwoo Lee chef hats on, if you've seen some of those images. And they were saying there's 200 of them. They were all Lululemon people. So Lululemon put out a great little promotion for Minwoo Lee to have all those guys out there. They all had the red Lululemon shirts on with the chef hats. And the chef hat said, let them cook. So I thought that was fantastic. But back to the leaderboard. So Sahith finishes 5th. Got Jordan Spieth, T6. Maverick McNeely, T6. Adam Scott, T8. And Adam Scott, man, this guy, I'm telling you, sometime soon he is going to break through once again, because his game is so good right now, and he is putting phenomenally. So Adam Scott, you got Kurt Kitayama tied 8th. Cam Young, He didn't look great in his practice round, but played pretty solid in the first 3 rounds. Ended up shooting a 71 in the final round, so kind of a letdown there in a little bit, but T8 for him. Andrew Novak was up there. Siwoo Kim, T12. My guy, Justin Thomas, he looked great this week. He just couldn't get it done on Sunday, so and Saturday, really. So he went 70-68 over the weekend. Not great there, but Justin Thomas, T12, Doug Gim, Davis Thompson, got a little Keith Mitchell action up there. And Tom Kim made a great move on Sunday. I almost hit a parlay with a bunch of guys in the top 20. Tom Kim moved up there. I missed out by one player. Not going to throw anybody under the bus there, but it was, let's see, it was a local. And he's got my trainer this week, too. So I'm a bit bitter. He's got my trainer out in L.A. Ando is out there with Wyndham Clark. I'll just tell you who it is. It's Wyndham. Wyndham let me down on Sunday. If he had finished in the top 20, I would have hit a parlay for a couple grand there. That would have been nice. But, yeah, Wyndham Clark, he did not play particularly well. 75 for him on Sunday. And, again, you know, you've got the weather that just wore down guys all week, and there you have it. So that's the rundown on the Waste Management Open. Let's get into this week, of course. And we've got a tiger sighting this week. Good old Tiger Woods returns. Sorry, folks. I had to get another little sip of that. But actually, I need one more of those. There we go. All right. So Tiger Woods is returning. If you don't know, now you're about to know that this place is pretty sentimental to him. It's where he had his PGA Tour debut back in 1992. You want to feel old? Tiger Woods' debut, 1992. Makes me feel old. I still remember it. So that being said, and God, my wife was born in 92. Oh, side note. Now, as we look at Riviera and Tiger's return, people started questioning, who's going to caddy for Tiger? And I remember talking with Bobby about this back when Joe LaCava came onto the bag for Tiger, and there was basically like auditions almost, to where a bunch of caddies just started reaching out to Tiger's agent, and from there, you know, just kind of putting their name in the hat and everything. And Lance Bennett, who was on just a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago to be exact, Lance Bennett is Tiger Woods' new caddy. I couldn't be more stoked for Lance. This is absolutely awesome for him. Granted, it's got to be absolutely nerve-wracking. I invited him to come on tonight. He was like, it's too early. He's like, but I will be coming on in the near future, so be aware of that. He'll be coming back. But that being said, he was with Austin Smotherman, and then from there, he got onto a bag for a rookie. So he actually, the night that we did the podcast, he couldn't say it on the show because he was hoping to talk with Austin before, but left him a voicemail. So there was all of that going on. Lance likes to do that the right way and everything. So that was kind of cool to hear from him. Hey, let's not talk about it on the show because I got a new kid at the Waste Management. We're going to hopefully get into it. So PGA Tour rookie, he was on his bag for all of 1 week, and then Tiger Woods calls. And all of a sudden, Lance is now Tiger Woods' new caddy. Now, keep in mind, Lance caddied for Matt Kuchar for close to a decade. He is a veteran caddy. He caddied for Sung Jae recently. They had a great run together. Davis Riley, amongst others. So Lance is a great caddy that I'm really excited for him. I hope that this is a long-term deal because him and Tiger, this could be kind of the final moments of Tiger's career, and I would love to have a person that is on the bag that we know. So that would be absolutely fantastic. Let's get into a little bit around Tiger. Well, we're not going to get into Tiger's launch of his clothing line yet. Okay, but he also launched a new clothing line, which he is going to be rocking out there at Riviera. They had the launch party yesterday for it. And yeah, we'll talk about it in the Swanee Style segment. But once again, this place is sentimental to Tiger. PGA Tour debut. And here's the crazy thing. He's never won at Riviera. So a lot of us are going to be curious to see what kind of game Tiger has. He's walking a hell of a lot better. Swing looks phenomenal. So could it be that we're going to experience a Tiger run? Like, is he going to get comfortable with this new schedule and routine that he has? Because when you're playing week in and week out and you're competing and winning and making cuts and everything, and then, you take time off, that's difficult to do. And getting into the right mindset mentally with kind of this 3-week prep and then go play in a golf tournament, that's tough to do. So if Tiger gets that down and really starts to hone in his game, we could see some great stuff from him. I think there's still golf in the tank, and I still think that he's motivated to win golf tournaments. So he always said he wouldn't play if he didn't think he could win. And he wants to win, so we all know how competitive Tiger Woods is. Outside of Tiger Woods, though, the Genesis Invitational at Riviera is one of my favorite, not golf tournaments per se, but it is one of my favorite golf courses that they play on tour. And what I love about it, so I played Riv a couple times. I played in a couple tournaments there. And the cool thing about Riv is that it sits in this valley where you got all these mansions around the perimeter of the property. It's in Pacific Palisades, and all of those homes are just massive. A lot of movie stars and everything own a lot of the homes and whatnot, but it sits down into this valley, and it's just got almost like the stadium effect around the entire golf course, and they're playing on zoysia grass. So say zoysia 5 times fast, okay? Now, for a lot of you that are not in agronomy, do not know the different types of grasses that these guys play on and everything. Well, the zoysia grass around the greens and the fairways and everything, it's very spongy. So why do you need to know about this? Because you're going to see guys that are not going to bump a shot into the fringe or play a bump and run, because what that does is, and I didn't believe it when people told me before playing out there, but you could hit a low lining pitch shot and that ball just kind of pops straight up in the air and comes straight back down. It's like hitting it into a sponge. So what does that mean? Short game wise, it's going to be tough. You have to carry everything onto the surface of the green chipping wise. So this is a ball striker's dream out there. And that's why we always see great ball strikers win this golf tournament. And I'm just going to go back to last year here. I'm just pulling up the past results real quick. And you've got John Rahm who won, right? Max Homa won the year prior to that. And you've got Adam Scott who has won out there. So you got guys who are great ball strikers that have won. Patrick Cantlay is always up there this week. So we'll get into our betting segment in just a few moments. But it's just an awesome, awesome golf course. A lot of history out there. Can Tiger win one of these? I don't know. Is he too old at this point to win at Riv? He loves the golf course. It's once again it's a very sentimental golf course for him. Who's to say that he doesn't go out with Lance his very first week and wins it? How cool would that be if Tiger Woods comes out, brand new caddy, Lance Bennett, who's been on the Pole Hook Golf podcast multiple times, goes out, wins the golf tournament? I think that would be pretty damn cool. I'm going to be rooting for him, that's for sure. And certainly the cameras are going to be on him. I love that Tiger Woods is doing this and has fought so hard to come back yet again and to compete. I mean, it's not as bad as it was because fused the ankle to the foot and everything that they did there with the recent surgery that was done. And he can walk, he can play. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Tiger's got a decent shot to make the cut and to play well this week. Now, with this event, it is one of the signature events. So I don't want our fan base to get confused here, because signature events, you're going to hear a lot about it in the prior weeks as well as weeks to come with these events, that they're no cut and everything. Well, there's 3 signature events that actually have cuts. So it is a limited field still, but within this limited field, there is a cut after 36 holes. And the three events is the Genesis Invitational, which is this week. You've also got the Arnold Palmer Invitational a little bit later in the year, as well as the Memorial Tournament. So you got Arnie's tournament, the Memorial, which is Jack's, and then this one is basically Tiger's with the Genesis Invitational. So take that for what it is. You've got a cut this week after 36 holes. What I love about that from a betting perspective is that you can actually bet on players to make or miss the cut. So I like that as far as the signature event going on here this week for the Genesis Invitational. But my bets for the week. So I was talking pretty highly about a gentleman by the name of Adam Scott. Adam Scott is putting lights out. His game looks so damn good. He played well last week, and I really feel, and that's a golf course, by the way, at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, that not only do you need to hit the ball well, but you need to putt well too. So you got both of those aspects there, and I really, really think Adam Scott is going to have himself a week. Not a day. I think Adam Scott is going to have himself a week, and he has won there prior. So he loves Riviera, loves to play out there. And you got to keep an eye on guys like Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay always plays well. He's went to UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, God, I don't know why I just blanked there and all of a sudden became unconfident as to where Patrick Cantlay went. But he's a LA-based guy. You've got Tony Finau, who has played out there and played well out there. Once again, great ball striker, not the best putter in the world, so he can play out there at Riv and have a really good week. And then former winner Max Homa. Those are the four guys that I would look out for this week. Now, as far as making the cut, you can go in, take a look at some of the guys that you like there. I love throwing in 5 guys, make the cut, sometimes 10, because making the cut and turn it into a parlay. So if you do that, you've got some pretty good options there to make it a decent amount of money. I hit on the made cuts last week, and I missed by one on the missed cuts. One player played a little bit too well, and it was unfortunate or fortunate for them. Depends on how you look at it. So those are the betting picks for the week. Adam Scott, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Max Homa. Throw them into a top 20. Throw them in a making the cut. Throw some money on one of them to go ahead and win the golf tournament. I just ask you to gamble responsibly. Now, let's get into the Swanee style segment, which ties us right back to Tiger Woods, because unless you've been living under a rock, Tiger Woods launched his brand new brand last night, and people are going nuts on social media, and not necessarily in a great way, okay? This new line from Tiger Woods, it is Sunday Red. So that's 3 words, Sunday Red, okay? And we saw weeks ago what the logo looked like, that they were doing SDR and then Sunday Red. We saw that all broken out. So that wasn't news to a lot of people, but apparently it was, because people lost their goddamn minds about the logo. They're like, how can Tiger not do the famous fist pump with the putter back and everything? Good point. Good point by those that made that reference. I don't know if Tiger, because there's always been a rivalry between Tiger and Phil. I don't know if Tiger felt like, I can go and do this because Phil has where he jumps up in the air at the Masters as his logo when he was with Callaway. So I don't know what the process went into it. If they just wanted a very flat design, I don't know. You can make Tiger's fist pump into a very flat design as well. So I'm not quite sure why they decided to go with the Tiger. Some people are reminded of the Slazenger logo and are claiming it looks a lot like that. It's interesting, okay? And again, the criticism on social media, I totally get it. Anytime there's something new, People are going to critique it. People are going to talk about it. Like when John Rahm's team name came out, I was just like, what? So now it has, I've digested it. I'm like, oh, that's a great team name. Things like that. So I think the same thing's going to happen with Tiger's clothing brand. I think, and I was out there at the golf course today, and a lot of people were talking about the fact that, it's a little bland. I was like, look at Tiger's style though. Like, this brand is Tiger Woods. So if Tiger's going to be authentic and real to Tiger, he's not going to do anything out there and crazy and everything. I do love, though, that they're coming out with a cashmere hoodie. So that's the one thing that I'm just like, man, that I like. It was in the tan color. I'm just like, that looks good. I would rock something like that. So kudos to Tiger and to that. But yeah, just a lot of criticism around it. A lot of people said that the golf shoes. Now, keep in mind, think of Tiger Woods. He needs to be able to wear these golf shoes out there on the golf course. They look like the Squares or the Skechers golf shoes. I'm like, damn, man, people are ruthless on social media. But I'm just like, nah, you know what? Nothing was surprising to me. Nothing was out of place. I was just like, everything kind of made sense. It's like when Dustin Johnson went to Live Golf. I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Lifestyle guy. Tiger comes out, pretty straightforward clothing line. Didn't really expect anything different. I don't know what a lot of people were thinking about it, but if you do, feel free to add it into the comments here. I'll be talking and I'll be doing some audience Q&A at the very end if our audience throws in some questions for us. And then part of our Swanee style segment, the Waste Management Phoenix Open collection by Swanee's. So like this shirt's apparently going to come out later in the spring or summer. There's some others that were there as well, like the Camden hoodie. And they've got the Camden hoodie on the website right now, the white one with the black. Oh, that thing in person, that was the best Camden hoodie I've seen so far. So I'm going to certainly be asking for one of those from Swanee's. They did not have my size. I thought that they would still have it. They were almost sold out of those Camden hoodies after Wednesday. So I went in on Thursday and they didn't have any left. So or in my size. All they had was small and I think extra large. I started debating. I'm like, well, I can try to lose a shit ton of weight or I could just gain some more weight. So there was that. But the Swanee's collection that's coming out, because a lot of it hasn't hit the website yet, is going to be phenomenal. You guys are going to love it. There's some desert stuff in there too. So I know they just launched their core collection, so definitely take a look at that. But Swanee's doing some great stuff, and that wraps up our Swanee style segment. Now for the part that a lot of people wait for in this podcast. Good old Live Golf. I got to take a sip of this Bushwick before I do, though. All right. Props to Live Golf Las Vegas. Tough to get a golf course for one. So, Super Bowl, they probably only committed to this for this year, I would imagine, because they wanted to be out there, and guess what? People who are out there for the Super Bowl, they're looking for stuff to do on the days before Sunday, and Live Golf changes from Friday, Saturday, Sunday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They had a Saturday finish, and I will tell you, when I was out at the Waste Management Open, and it was a debacle out there, I popped on Live Golf on my phone, and I was watching the finals 9 holes of golf coming down the stretch, and it was a great tournament in its own right. Like there was nothing that was like, holy shit, I'm watching literally the best golf that I could possibly watch right now. And that is not a shot at Live. That is because the golf course was tricky. Like these guys at the beginning of the week, there were live golf accounts. I love that they deleted their tweets because I went back to go like take some screenshots and everything. And by the way, when I talk about live golf accounts, I'm not talking about the fan base. The real fan base is great. The cheerleaders, fanboys, and bots that are out there are what I'm referring to. I've actually started to really get into a mode to where I'm just like, I can't deal with any of these because they're so over the top ridiculous. They're insane. And they're not funny. Like, that's the other thing. Like, some of the PGA Tour fanboys and haters, like, that hate on live, they're funny. Like, they throw in some humor in there, gets the live guys all riled up. But going back to live for this, okay? It was a tricky course. I heard early on in the week from one of Rom's people that he was not enjoying the golf course at all. There were some issues that he did not like about it, did not like the way that the greens were rolling, certain things like that. But where they won, where Liv won, is with all the celebrities that were out there. They had a great pro-am, like phenomenal. And outside of that, the golf, it led to a really good finish from a lot of great players. So at the top, now, I know PGA Tour fanboys are going to say, in the PGA Tour, guys that are loyal, that hate live golf because of what it is, are going to say, well, this shows that, you know, it's not that competitive because Dustin Johnson hasn't touched a club until Mayakoba. And you're going to tell me that he got his game in form. Well, Dustin Johnson is just that damn good, okay? Because Bobby Brown, he caddied for Dustin Johnson throughout pretty much his entire career until got to the point to where Bobby was done with it. And, you know, Dustin and him went his separate ways and DJ brought his brother on board. But the amount of conversations that Bobby and I have had about Dustin Johnson and his game, he's just a freak athlete, and he is that good at golf to be able to just take off a ton of time and come back and just be nonchalant about, you know what? He was surprised with his game at Mayakoba. Maybe this is the entire type of golf format that DJ has needed for his entire career because he looked great. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't going out shooting 59. Now, again, a lot of those live golf bot accounts were like, we're going to see Pat Perez shoot 56. And we're going to see the course record, the lowest score in professional golf history out here because this course is so gettable, blah, blah, blah. Like, I saw those tweets, right? And sure enough, you don't see him anymore because that course actually played pretty damn difficult. But DJ went out and did what he needed to do in round 1 and 2. Well, round 2, really, shooting 8 under. That's what we expected this week, is 8 under par. And really, I mean, we kind of expected it to be even lower, like 10 under par. But again, good tournament. It was a tight tournament. So you got Dustin Johnson winning at 12 under. Taylor Gooch finishes at 11 under. Peter Uihlein at 11 under. Matthew Wolff at 10. Yes, folks, we have, I said it correctly. Matthew Wolff. We have a sighting, folks, of Matthew Wolff. I almost, not yet. It's too early. Not going to put my foot in the mouth about the trade. Because guess what? Taylor Gooch still finished 2 slots ahead of him in second place, and that's who he was traded for. But good to see Matthew Wolff playing well. Nobody wants to see a young, talented kid like that playing poorly, and it really seems like, and they did a great job. Even during the broadcast, there was a great little segment on, it was on Thursday, because Thursday was the first round, where they had from Range Goats headquarters, Bubba Watson with a couple guys that he has with him that help consult with him for the team and everything. And they were talking about the trade for Matthew Wolff. And the way that Bubba was passionate and explained it, I get it. But still, okay. We're just going to leave it at that. But the Range Goats, we had an appearance from the Range Goats. They played very, very well. And they actually got on the podium this week in 3rd place. You got the 4 Aces finish second. So good to see that as well. And then Smash GC. I told you guys, man, Smash GC is going to be the team to beat this year. I know the Crushers are good. They have the same team. Chucky Three Sticks, DeChambeau, Casey, Lahiri. Yes, they're going to be up there every single week, and I like that. But Smash GC and Koepka is not even playing well. There is a thing about having a kid, and in that first year of having a kid and playing professional golf, that it takes a lot out of you. And you can look at stats for players that have had kids and what did their year look like. Well, Koepka's coming out so far not looking like he is perfectly on form yet, which he's got time. So don't beat him up too much. But, Koepka did not play well compared to the rest of his crew. McDowell, Kokrak, Gooch. I mean, those guys. So let's see. Where did Brooks end up finishing? I'm scrolling down the leaderboard here. Scrolling down. Where are we? Where is Koepka? Jesus. All right. There. So Koepka. 13th. So he finished 13th. You had Graham McDowell finished 5th. You had Kokrak finished 7th. And Gooch finished 2nd. So they ran away with the team win for Liv. And then from Legion 13. They win the first team event. They come out and they finish 5th. Crushers 4th. Torquay, GC, 6th. And then the rest of the crews. Here's the thing. With this particular tournament, I'm not putting too much stake. They're going to have a little bit of time off until they have to go, and their next tournament is going to be March 1st through the 3rd over at the Abdullah Economic City Royal Greens Golf and Country Club. So again, that's their next event, March 1st through the 3rd. So they've got 2 weeks off. This is what's tough for Live Golf fans. They get this nice little stretch of 2 tournaments in a row. Now you got 2 weeks to where you're just going to wait on it. That's why I just really feel like all fans just need to, at this point, drop the politics. Forget the politics. We can't control any of the politics, okay? So stop worrying about the damn politics. It's all going to get figured out. But Live Golf fans should watch good golf on the PGA Tour. PGA Tour fans should watch Live Golf, because a lot of great names, and it's a tighter field. I was talking about this with one of my friends in the golf space, and we were talking about the fact that, do you like the fact that, you've got a condensed field? So you're going to see some of the big names always up there at the top of the leaderboard. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of nice to see top guys that are on top of the leaderboard. However, he comes right back with, but I'd love to see great golf also being played by guys that I don't know, that I would love to get to find out more about and get to know. I think that is the ultimate battle right now with the PGA Tour, and Live Golf's doing a great job because they have a select field, but they're doing a great job of the segments during the rounds, of getting to know the teams, getting to know the players even on a more intimate level beyond the golf course. And I like that. The PGA Tour does none of that, really. So it is, and that's what I always talk about with the promotion side. It is tough for the PGA Tour. Live Golf-wise, I really do think that they do a great job, and I've been very impressed with the broadcast. I think they're doing a tremendous job there. I think the PGA Tour needs to learn a thing or two from the Live Golf broadcast. One of the things that I do not like, I will agree with all the media that talks about that putting line. Get rid of it. Don't like it. It does not help. I wouldn't mind seeing a highlighted, like they used to do in hockey, a highlighted ball or a highlighted hole, so that you can actually see if the putt is going to go in or not, and if it's looking good. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's Live Golf Las Vegas. Once again, smartest thing that they ever did was put it in the same location as the Super Bowl. Do it for the 3 days prior to the Super Bowl. Got all the celebrities in the world out there. And again, even the segment with Phil Mickelson and a couple of the football players. That was great at the beginning of the week. And Live Golf really delivered this past week in Las Vegas. But don't sit. Here's the thing, folks. This is a PSA for all the Live Golf fans that try to say that it's better. All our fans are more whatever. Okay? Waste Management has always been and will always be the winner this week. And I was pissed that the Las Vegas event was going at the same time as the Waste Management Phoenix Open. But I get it, because I would have loved to also go to the Live Golf event, drive up to Las Vegas, go up there, watch this event and everything. Would have been great. But you're not going to get the same crowds. The tournaments are different. You're just not it's comparing apples to oranges. So please just let it go in terms of trying to compare the two. We just have two totally different golf products right now. And that's where, I mean, me as a host and doing a podcast and being on Twitter and everything, it's exhausting to have to go back and forth with people on this stuff. It's just like, let's all come together as a golf community and appreciate really good golf and what's going on in the sport, because we're seeing some of the best golf in the world right now, and that is what's most important. So now let's turn it over to some fan questions. And one of the questions here looks like we've got, and feel free, by the way, if you're on X, I always say Twitter, but if you're on X, go ahead and just add a comment to this, and it should show up here. I've seen them before pop up during the live stream broadcast. If you're on Millions, go ahead and put that in. I got to check Millions here for some questions, as those don't come through for me, but do show up on millions.co, and then also on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, go ahead and feel free to put in into the comments as well. But one of the questions that I just saw over from Millions is, during your experience this week, what was the best story that you took away from the Waste Management Open? All right. So the best story that I and I wouldn't say that this is the best story. I would just say that this is one of those stories that really made me chuckle. God, you have so many different types of fans at the Waste Management Open. This guy must have been 80. And it is Wednesday. So this is before all of the chaos. If you've watched the Phoenix or the People's Open special with Butsy, and watch the YouTube version of that, because there are visuals. I swear this was the old guy from the visual. He had pants on, but they were like up to his belly button. He had the long white socks underneath that you could see. He had like the brown alligator belt with a cane. And sure enough, one of the Waste Management Open like grounds crew comes by in just a regular golf cart. It's a gas golf cart, and this guy, in the most angry tone you will ever hear, goes, "Thanks for using a fucking gas golf cart." And I'm just like, wait a second. Did you just chirp at one of the guys doing the greenskeeping and everything, who's like trying to get from one thing to the next? And it's Wednesday, and he just drove past you in open air, and you're chirping him about using a gas golf cart as if he has a choice between, this is one of the maintenance workers. So I just started dying laughing. The guy looks at me with like a nasty look, and in my head, all I could think about is, hey, bud, you might have like a couple days left on this planet. Like, just enjoy yourself. Like, don't be miserable. And then I did enjoy seeing all the characters out there as well, from all the different backgrounds that we shared on the podcast. You had the Chads out there, and I'm sorry, the name Chad is not the problem here. It is, and granted, the Chads are great because they're just party animals. They're frat boys that still want to get together with their boys and go out. And I've been that guy, so I mean, it's perfectly fine. It's just you get some younger guys out there as well, and the Chads were out in full display. The disappointing part of the tournament really was the fashionistas because you did not there was a lot of clothing on this year because of the weather. That was the disappointing part. But let's see. Any other questions as well? I think that sums up the questions. So that wraps up Live Golf Las Vegas, Swanee style segment, the upcoming Genesis Invitational at Riviera, Tiger Woods' big return, and then obviously we had to break down what a lot of people on social media were calling the Wasted Management Phoenix Open. It's out of control. It's always out of control, but I do think that it can be better next year, and I hope that it is, and I hope the weather helps out as well. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. So for one, Swanee's Golf. They've been absolutely phenomenal. Love you guys. Loved hanging out with them at the Waste Management Open. And sure enough, Swanee's. Go to swanees.co. Use promo code PoleHookGolf25 at checkout for 25% off your entire order. And then Lab Golf. Once again, folks, Lab Golf over here. They have been phenomenal to me as well. That fitting process that they have is so easy, and it's just like going and getting a professional fitting done. I really do encourage anybody that, hey, if you're struggling making some putts out there, go get yourself a Lab Golf putter, because these things, and I'm telling you, if you have pro golfers who normally can putt with anything, that just absolutely, like a cult following, are just preaching about Lab Golf, you got to see what's up. And now I'm starting to see them everywhere. I think this DF3, this new DF3 putter, is going to be unbelievable. I can't wait to get that into my hands. But yeah, that being said, I'm signing off. So hope everybody has a great week, and until next week. And by the way, next week, not going to be a solo show, so we're going to have a nice little guest on next week, and can't wait till then. See you, everybody.